Greetings all! Today, we'll be examining the exceptionally rare Fire-type Pokemon Chimchar, the Chimp Pokémon, its equally rare Fire Fighting-type evolution Monferno, the Playful Pokémon, and its equally rare final evolution Infernape, the Flame Pokémon. Energetic to a T, and more than able to use their agility to overcome the odds, the members of the Chimchar family are potent mammals that can give those that underestimate them a powerful wallop before they even know what's coming their way.
Chimchar have bipedal bodies, with orange hair covering most of the frame, save for the beige hair that is on their chest, belly, face, ears, and their three-toed feet and five-fingered hands. They have red flesh on the inside of the ears around their dark grey eyes, a wisp of hair on the top of their head, and a flame ignited at the posterior that serves as the source of their fire-type powers. The evolved form, Monferno, have a similar body form as their pre-evolved form, but their orange hair now covers their hands, minus their fingers. Their ears have turned a darker beige color with even darker insides. There are golden rings of hair on their arms, and they further sport a blue patch of fur on their face like a mask, with a red splotch just above their nose. Additionally, they now have an elongated tail, the tip of which is kept alight as a source of their fiery powers. Their final evolution, Infernape, have bright white hair covering their legs, torso, and the back edges of their head and face, the rest of their body showing up as brown, hairless skin, with 5 blue fingers and toes on each of their respective limbs, and gilded gold fur markings on their knees, wrists, shoulders, and chest. Their long tail has lost its flame, instead being positioned as a crown of fire on the top of their head, their red forehead marking, yellow sclera, and blue eyes more than helping to frame and show off their impressive and gorgeous forms.
Instead of utilizing combustion organs for their fire-type powers, the members of the Chimchar family initially generate their flames by producing extremely volatile gases within their stomachs and igniting them via chemical reactions within their colons.
This has the effect of creating a small flame from their behinds, which burns brightly as long as they feel healthy, especially in the case of Chimchar. The moment they begin to feel ill, however, the flame will quickly weaken and diminish. The production of this flame is no detriment to these creatures whatsoever, because their entire gastric system is chemically reinforced against heat, allowing them to channel fire out of both their rear and mouths. Because these creatures tend to utilize a free-flowing combat style, this seemingly disgusting versatility has its obvious advantages. Moreover, because this fire is fueled from internal gases and does not normally interact with the air at all, it is safer from the effects of atmospheric moisture and is extremely difficult for others to put out, even in pouring rain. While the powers that they begin to develop upon further evolving into Monferno are nothing to sneeze at, it should be noted that they still generally are limited in terms of combat effectiveness. Both them and the evolution Infernape, although fighting types, are quite limited in terms of move versatility because of their unique fighting styles and limited use of pure muscle to achieve success. In fact, the only fighting type attacks they learn naturally are the power-up punch, mach punch, and close combat attacks, though the tendency to use rapid motion to strike from many angles helps to counter this somewhat. In evolving into Infernape, Monferno undergo further physical alteration in order to improve the physical combat abilities. This time, their flame source of ignition is moved from the tails to, of all places, their heads. At first, this seems to make almost no sense at all, as this change prevents Infernape from using the flames as a deterrent against oncoming attackers. In their case, however, this actually gives them the advantage of being able to get close to their opposition without detection, while also allowing them to put their full body weight into attacks like Flare Blitz. The flame still holds the same physical properties seen in both Chimchar and Monferno, but due to its position above the brain, it actually has a slight effect on the moves Infernape are capable of learning. Specifically, while Chimchar and Monferno are capable of learning the slack-off technique at higher levels, Infernape are denied that technique without some sort of artificial help because of increased brain functions, believed to be the result of the fire slightly heating their brains and increasing the overall strength of electrical activity, and instead gain access to the Calm Mind technique.
Regardless, they are still held together as a whole by the skewed gender ratio of 7-to-1 in favor of males and their abilities, as their close connection to their fire-type powers readily grants them access to Blaze as their only base ability. Those specimens that show much greater fighting prowess than others, especially with punching strikes, can also have Iron Fist as a hidden ability.
In looking at their combat attributes, specifically with Infernape, it can be seen that they are rather lacking in the way of combat stamina and defenses, with the base HP defense and special defense stats being below average for a fully evolved fire and fighting-type Pokemon, but they make up for this with impressive agility and offenses, the base attack stat being above average for a fully evolved fire-type Pokemon, the base special attack stat being above average for a fully evolved fighting-type Pokemon, and the base speed stat being above average for a fully evolved Pokemon of both of their types. rendering them serious contenders to worry about if they can't be taken out quickly with harsh assaults. Despite their small size, Chimchar are surprisingly agile and can easily outmaneuver larger foes with little difficulty. This is particularly imperative for their survival, as the weak defenses make them a prime target for predators. In order to ensure their survival into evolution, providing them additional strength, Chimchar in the wild isolate themselves as individuals or in small groups within the craggy peaks of mountains. Since their agility allows them to easily scale nearby vertical cliffs, only flying predators pose a serious threat in most cases. This choice of habitat also helps separate Chimchar from water and therefore water-type Pokemon in general, serving as a guard against their primary weakness. Unfortunately, this also places them within the territory of many ground and rock-type Pokemon, who often prove to be an even greater threat. Once they evolve though, Chimchar will have little reason to fear such types, as the eventual addition of the fighting type will make them a force to be reckoned with, and in response, they have managed to adapt to evolve earlier than most starter Pokemon to compensate for this. As they are though, they must rely on their flame to repel others, but Chimchar are also thankfully aware of the threat their flame poses to their surroundings even in this state, and will always extinguish the flame themselves by ceasing production of its gaseous fuel before going to sleep as a way of preventing accidental fires, even if this did little in ancient times to keep people from calling them lantern tails and fearing them as apparitions of some sort. In order to increase the overall threat level against many ground and rock-type Pokemon that roam the habitats, Chimchar develop a passion for physical brawls soon before evolving into Monferno, at which point the skills become enhanced enough to be classified as fighting types, the transition being generally marked by the acquisition of the Mach Punch attack immediately after evolving. Though, as noted, they are limited in the types of fighting type attacks they can learn naturally, only further getting access to a few other attacks of the same type.
As a way of making them more specialized in close quarters combat, Monferno develop a tail that takes the place of their colon and serving as the ignition source for the volatile gases in their stomach.
While this change keeps them from naturally learning the flamethrower attack without artificial help, and replaces the nasty plot technique Chimchar can learn with feint, by adjusting the amount of gas they generate within their stomachs, Monferno can precisely change the intensity and length of their tail flame in order to repel oncoming opponents, which can be readily seen in their eventual acquisition of the Flare Blitz attack. Aside from the combat attributes, it is noted that Monferno rarely travel alone in the wild and often hunt for small berries and fruits among medium-sized groups. The leaders of these groups are usually easy to pick out due to the greater combat experience and especially their appearance, as the blue markings on their faces deepen in color and the tail flames generally increase in size as they age and approach evolution. However, as with Chimchar, the flame will weaken and shrink if they become ill.
Infernape are unique among fighting types for their incredibly unorthodox fighting style, namely the use of an advanced form of monkey kung fu that is customized to match the needs and preferences, in turn making them the most likely source of inspiration for the human variant of this fighting style.
Infernape are experts at free-flow combat, attacking and retreating at irregular intervals throughout a battle in order to suit their taste in any given moment. As such, it is almost impossible to form a strong countermeasure against their attacks, in particular the close combat attack they gain access to immediately after evolving, as there is no way of telling where they might strike next. As if this wasn't difficult enough, Infernape are also incredibly quick and can easily employ all of their limbs, tail included, to deliver punishing blows to the opposition. While thick armor might be enough to deter some of their attacks, few things in general are capable of standing in their way for extended periods of time. It could probably be said that Infernape are more than comparable to martial arts experts in regard to their speed, evasiveness, and seemingly random attacks, except Infernape don't like to simply wait to attack methodically. These creatures are always willing to fight and will gladly challenge anyone, delivering the first punch even if their trainer does not want them to. This rarely proves to be much of an issue with most trainers, but Infernape are also prone to going off on a rampage whenever their Blaze ability kicks in. While this obviously makes them even harder to counter and defeat, it also makes it equally hard for the trainers to control them and keep them from exposing themselves to unnecessary risks, though at the very least this rage can be made use of through their Raging Fury attack to utilize the power to the utmost.
These wild apes are a blast to be around, and while I normally do not like being near fire types of any sort, these creatures are definite exceptions to the rule, if only because they can control their flames so as not to light anyone on fire. At a young age, these sprightly beasts can win over the hearts of many with their joyfulness and charming appearances, and it's really hard to not like them, even if they are rather fragile throughout their lifetime. The older they get, the more skilled they become with their fighting type powers, and the better they can use them to sock their opponents right in the face. And while their attacks are limited in scope, their execution execution styles are incredibly diverse and can render a short report of them alone. Their agile and graceful strikes clash with their sometimes brutal fighting styles, but it all works out to make them highly unpredictable and not something to just ignore even with a severe type advantage against them. While it is important to note that they can be a bit hard to control once they've managed to really enter a serious rage, in the end, this can be channeled and used as a potent weapon against enemies when those mammals are metaphorically on the ropes. And as a whole, they work extremely well as starter Pokemon and can give their owners and friends a wild time if they choose to stick by them and watch just what these wild fighters can do in any confrontation.
Wild at their best, and fleet-footed to be sure, the members of the Chimchar family can easily make good use of their forms to deliver a solid beatdown that few others can replicate with such intensity and skill. Getting a hold of one of these creatures might be a bit on the difficult side, but it can be more than worth it once their full power has been unleashed.
Just do yourself a favor and, if you decide to try and train with them to learn this style, make sure you've got just as much flexibility as they do, or at least something close. Otherwise, their moves might end up tying you in knots, and show just how these creatures can deliver their attacks at any angle or position, no matter how complex and forceful they might be.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.